board members. We are calling our meeting of the Oakville Public Library Board to order, and welcome everybody. And it's nice to see everybody, or most of us, back in the room. Before we get started, I want to read our territorial land acknowledgement. The Oakville Public Library is situated on Treaty 14 and Treaty 22 treaty lands and the territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation and the traditional territory of the Huron-Wendat and the Haudenosaunee. Oakville is currently home to many different First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. Regardless of where we come from, we are all interconnected through the land that we live on, the water that we use, and the air that we breathe. We are committed to a continuous learning journey and allyship. We seek to elevate Indigenous voices and lived experience to cultivate reconciliation in Oakville, and it's very appropriate because June is Indigenous Peoples Month, and we had Indigenous Peoples Day on Tuesday, I think it was, and we unveiled our orange sidewalk to recognize the atrocities that occurred at residential schools at Thomas and Church. So if you haven't had a chance to see that, you should go and walk the new orange crosswalk, see the interpretive signs and the treaty plaques throughout the town. Madam Committee Clerk, do we have any regrets this evening?
We have regrets from Andrew Cashman.
Thank you. We wish Andrew to get well soon. So Andrew, if you're watching, get well soon, please. We want to see you back next month. I'm pleased to introduce, we have a new board member today, so welcome to the team, Savannah Chiblo, and we're so glad that you're able to join us.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Great. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest or just pecuniary interest here this evening? I don't see any. Members of the board, we have the minutes of the previous meeting for your consideration. That was the meeting held on May 26, 2022. How would you like to dispose of those this evening? I would entertain a motion to approve. Savannah, oh no, you weren't here, so you probably shouldn't make that motion. I was going to say, you want to make your first motion, but no, that probably wouldn't make any sense. Yeah. Can I get a motion to approve those, please? Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Stephen. Any comments, questions, errors, or omissions? See none, let's move. Oh, all in favor? I get to call a real vote now. Opposed? That's carried. We have two items on our consent agenda. We have the Oakville Public Library key board agenda items, as well as the health and safety report. Does anybody wish to separate either of those items this evening? Or are you satisfied with the recommendations contained therein? Not seeing any interest in separating, so I'll look for a motion to approve the staff recommendations contained in those reports. Susan, thank you. Savannah, do you want to give that a try? Okay. Savannah will second. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We don't have any confidential consent items. We do have 7 discussion items, starting out with 6.1, which is the year-to-date financial status indicators for May 2022. Does anybody have any questions on this? I don't think we have. There's no staff report. I think it's self-explanatory. Nothing? Okay. Can I get a motion to approve that, please? Stephen, or sorry, Susan? I knew you put your head out looking at me.
May the force be with you.
Yeah. Stop your Jedi mind tricks. Seconded by Stephen. Thank you very much. Any further comments or questions? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. 6.2, board newsletter proposal. Do you want to give us the high level on this?
Sure. As the board will remember, those who were present at the January meeting when I presented the CEO goals for 2022, one of the items that came forward was a request to better promote the activity of the board to members of the public throughout Oakville. One of the proposals that the board suggested was a board newsletter. So we went back and we looked at different options. I reached out to similar libraries just to see what kind of board newsletters or communications they participate in. And what you have in front of you is 3 options based on the feedback that we received from those. So happy to take questions on any of those 3. We also have included a recommendation from staff.
Members of the board, do you have any questions or comments? Okay, so we do need a recommendation. If you want my 2 cents worth, since I was probably the one that came up with this brilliant idea, I do think C makes a lot of sense because it leverages the existing or communication channel. It also limits the amount of work that we have to put on the staff that are already working the maximum capacity they can. And I think it will achieve the goal of, it's not so much promoting what we do, it's more along the lines of promoting the fact that we exist and that there is a citizen, I was going to say civilian, that's the other board, that there's a citizen involvement or citizen oversight on library activities. So that would be my recommendation. If somebody agrees with me, I would like, if somebody could move that. Susan? Wait for the red.
I'm just supporting it, I agree. I think it's the best way to do it.
We have a mic down. Mic down. You can't, the problem is YouTube, or our audience won't hear you. Would somebody second that to get that on the table, please? Thank you, Bill. Any further comments or questions on that? Okay. It's a kumbaya evening. All in favor? That's carried, thank you. Contests and lotteries policy is item 6.3.
So as the board is aware, every year we have existing policies that come up for renewal. This is, the next 3 items are those. So you can see in front of you that we have taken a look at the policy. We've reviewed it. We've reviewed it against similar policies at other libraries. We didn't really make any significant changes to it other than to update its format to match the policies as we've been doing over the past number of years. So it is just mostly grammatical, structural changes, but nothing that's changed in terms of content. But happy to take questions.
Questions from the board? Needs to be fairly straightforward. I mean, I'm assuming this was all done and vetted through the clerk's department who administers the whole libraries, or sorry, licensing milieu around contests and lotteries in the town?
We consulted with legal.
Pardon me?
Legal.
I guess that's just good.
Okay. Yeah.
They make more. I was wondering because clerks actually administers the whole lotteries piece, and that's why I wondered if you want a lottery license in Oakville, you got to go to clerk's department.
Oh, okay. We don't really run a ton of lotteries, so I think we just updated it based on what we
have a lottery licensing officer,
Oh.
so that's usually who it goes through.
Yeah. For lotteries, bingos, 50-50 draws, things like that.
Yeah. Mostly we do contests.
Okay.
Right.
And most of them probably wouldn't fall under that. Okay, members of the board, would somebody like to move this is simply a receipt, I believe. Let me just double check that. We're not approving it, are we?
Well,
No.
our process is to bring it for
Right.
feedback and then bring it for approval next month. However, if you want to approve it tonight rather than bring it back next month, that is completely the board's prerogative.
Would anybody like more time to consider this and analyze the punctuation and the grammar? I'm not seeing that interest. So would somebody like to move approval then? Thanks, Bill. Thanks, Stephen. Further comments or questions? All in favor? That's approved. Fund development policy report.
So the fund development policy is similar to the last one in that it was up for review. However, when it was reviewed, multiple policies were up for renewal. So we had the donations, sponsorship, naming rights, and third-party fundraising policy, the endowment fund policy, and the planned giving policy. And while we were reviewing it, it occurred to us that these all fall under the same heading. So would be better situated as a single policy and a one-stop shop for people who are interested in donations, because that's pretty much what this focuses on. So again, there's no real change to thresholds or the overarching guidance that the policies provide, more amalgamation of those 3 policies into a single document.
Comments or questions? Seeing any? Oh, Bill, yes, go ahead. Wait for the red.
Is it the little button on the bottom here?
Yeah. It says mic on, off.
Is it doing anything? Mic down.
Another mic down.
Yeah. I just had I was just wondering as I was going through this fund development policy, and I mean there was a lot of information in here. But when we take things like donations and what have you, is there a sort of a mechanism to? And the only reason why I say this because I was watching something on 60 Minutes the other day, and it was, kind of eye-opening. But money that's coming in like, how do we know it's clean money? You know, like the banks are, when money comes in, if it's over $10,000, there's a, there's a whole report that you have to fill out, so you know where the money's coming from. It's like a reputational risk issue.
Right.
Is there anything like that in here, or?
Not that I know of. I will say that we rarely deal with donations that big, although we hope to, but that is something we can look at and maybe include in here for next
Yeah,
time.
I was just wondering, because you never know, right? I
Yeah.
mean, we could be bringing in money that's coming from who knows where, and, people, I don't know. I don't know if donations is something that, people that might try to be hiding dirty money, but it's a possibility, I suppose, for things like donations.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We do specify where we do not accept donations from. There are industries, tobacco, alcohol, that we do not
Right.
accept because
Right.
they just don't match our values necessarily. But in terms of where that money originated from, we don't, but we'll look into it.
Yeah. It was just a thought.
Actually, it's a really interesting, it's an interesting point. Yeah. I wonder if that's something that we should send back, since this is the consultation point. We should send it back to have a look at that.
Yeah, because you don't want to, you take a donation of some sort and then later find out that it was actually, money from, suspicious places, and it would look potentially bad on the library for.
I'm thinking, in addition to that, you could potentially have a donation from somebody that may not be upfront about what their ultimate goal is.
Yeah.
To be a sponsor.
Well, that's
somebody
true, too.
that's, trying to influence something in town and wants their name on something and turns around.
Yeah. Yeah.
Suddenly you discover.
That's a good point, too.
Yeah.
Joe has Joe reviewed the policy.
Joe, go ahead.
Yes, so there is language in here that anything over $5,000
Yeah.
comes through the CEO or myself to review, and anything over $25,000 would come through the board for review.
Right.
And then just say if we do some sort of agreement or sponsorship for a number of years, and something were to happen where we find out additional information throughout the duration of that time, there's language in the policy which allows us to remove those rights in terms of naming and all those pieces as well. So there is, in terms of a formal process, it goes through different checkpoints to come
Right.
through.
Yeah.
But where is that spelled out?
It's in each of the areas. So if you look at like fundraising, call it third-party fundraising, for example.
Right.
On page 45 of 82, it will detail that over $5,000 would go through the CEO or designate for that specific amount.
No, I understand that, but where do we, it's sort of a very general catch-all kind of thing. I think that what Bill's talking about is actually sort of naming it and providing some wording that talks about potentially doing further investigation or understanding the rationale behind donation.
Yeah.
I think something worth looking at.
We can look at best practices and then whether or not that would be more appropriate in the policy, or whether or not that would be a procedure upon receiving
Yeah.
the money or before we
Right.
sign an agreement. Because when you're talking about those amounts, there is an agreement that we
Yeah.
go through in order to have clear understanding and expectation about how that money is going to be used and what the expectations are of the donor in terms of recognition and approval of various steps and stages. So we can look at that and bring it back next month.
I think best practices deep dive would be a good idea. Yeah. Thank you, Bill. That was good contributions. Anything further? Okay, can I get a motion to receive, please? This will have to come back again. Thanks, Bill. Seconded by? Thank you, Stephen. Any further comments or questions? All in favor? Motion carried. Thank you. Election-related resources.
So this policy comes back every 4 years, tied to the municipal election, and just provides guidance around how municipal resources, library resources can be used by councilors and those running for office as part of the municipal election. It's very much based on the town's policy and procedure. The only real update to it is that in the previous policy, there was a statement around the use of library equipment such as phones, but that is not something that the library does. That's managed through the town. So we just took out the section because it doesn't really apply to us. The town manages those pieces. For us, it's more around printers or advertising space or use of space, and those are highlighted throughout the policy.
Questions, comments? Bill? It's red, you're good.
Is it good?
Yeah, we
Okay.
see you red, yep.
Sorry. I just had a question about, there was a section in here about canvassing and stuff like that for volunteers, staff, and what have you. And I wasn't too sure. It says volunteers cannot canvass or work for a candidate during their identified volunteer hours. I wasn't sure what that meant.
So that means they can't actively canvass while they're working for the library in a volunteer capacity. So right now we have the book sale. So somebody can't be at the book sale, volunteering at the book sale, handing out pamphlets for a candidate. But once they're done their shift at the book sale, they're more welcome to, because they are no longer affiliated with the library itself.
Okay.
So that's why I use the term identified hours, because that's the shift hours that they're working at that particular time.
Okay. So it doesn't matter, like, we're volunteers, so as long as I'm not canvassing during our meeting, everything's okay, right?
Correct.
Okay.
So you're volunteering?
I don't know.
Okay,
I'm trying.
okay.
Well, I was actually going to specifically ask about boards, because we are volunteers. I know we had this conversation 4 years ago.
Yep.
Through the business cycle, so are we legally volunteers as contemplated in this policy?
So my understanding through different conversations is that the boards are governed by the town. So you'd be covered under their policy and procedure, which is in fact this, just for the town. So either whether you're covered under ours, yes,
Not
it
that I
would,
have intention.
it would apply to you. That this meeting couldn't necessarily become a canvassing or promotion meeting for candidates running.
Okay, just wanted to be sure.
Yep.
It does, however, mean that I lose my name tag after September 1st. I'm just kidding.
Well, we just white out the
We just white it out, yeah. Okay, further questions or comments? I have a question. Has this been, again, I won't say vetted, but have you discussed this with the clerk staff? And the reason I'm asking this is because there was a surprising revelation when I registered for my candidacy this time. I had always assumed and had always complied or tried to comply, except by accident periodically, with the concept that you can't ever use a logo or be on town property or everything. But apparently there's been some clarification that if you have your picture taken in a town facility or a logo appears in a photograph or anything like that, if it's from a location that the public has equal access to, that it's no longer forbidden. So I was shocked by that. And you probably noticed that everybody was registering this year. They all got their picture taken in front of town hall, which always was a no-no. And this was explained to me when I registered. So I'm just curious, because if you look at 1B, I'm just wondering if that's fully on side.
No, we can absolutely look at that. We did review this against the current town
Right.
policy and procedure, and it matches, but if they're in the process of updating theirs.
I would suggest that you go back to our election expert. I can't remember her name. Jessica, do you?
You could contact Antonio Mancuso.
Yep.
And just double check on that.
Okay.
And the only reason I raise it is because it could avoid potential conflicts. Because every election, I know staff have to argue with candidates, and there's always hard feelings as a result of it. So it's better to just be totally clear on what those rules are. If I'm wrong, then great. But if I'm interpreting the way that it was explained to me on my registration day, there seems to have been a big shift.
Okay, I'll talk with her.
Thank you. Anything further? Seeing none, can I get a motion? Seeing none, can I get a motion to receive, please? Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Bill. Any further comments or questions? All in favor of receipt? And that's carried, thanks. Performance and measures, comparison report Q1 2022.
So the board will remember that at the last board meeting, it was requested that we bring back our Q1 report and adjust our comparisons from 2020, 2021, to 2022 to 2022 to 2019 in order for the board to get a better sense of what recovery is looking like. So what you'll see is basically the same report. There are some instances where you can't necessarily match it up. But overall, I think it gives the board a good overview of where we are. The only thing that I think I'd like to point out, we did mention this at the last board meeting, that physical circulation still tends to do quite well. We are about 80, 85 of where we were pre-pandemic. Where we're just starting to see some increases, and I think Q2 will probably show some significant improvement, is in terms of foot traffic. We're definitely seeing more people come into the branches. So we're excited for that because that has held steady at roughly 40% for about the last 6-7 months. But I think summer's bringing people out and we're having more in-person activities, the book sale, programs, events, and it's starting to draw people in. You're starting to see some changes in comfort level. So we're excited about that. I will flag that digital circulation continues to be a challenge for us in terms of comparing one-to-one. And what I mean by that is it's very easy for us to provide statistics around cloud library and ebooks, because the way that licensing works for ebooks is very similar to the way they function in physical books. So it's easy to make those kind of comparisons. But we also, in digital circulation, we also include things like LinkedIn Learning, where they changed how they measure it. It used to be certificates completed, and now it's videos viewed. So again, it continues to kind of shift on us, so it sometimes is a bit misleading with those statistics. We still put them in there because it still shows activity, but it doesn't necessarily, a ebook read, an e-audio book listened to, a LinkedIn Learning, they're not all necessarily comparative uses, but we're still trying to figure out a good way to kind of accurately show them. But beyond that, happy to take questions.
I noticed the 4,400% increase in that one.
Yeah.
Stephen.
There we go. I've always thought of this question, and today's the day to ask it. Is it possible, or do, maybe put it this way, are there correlational trends between what people are taking out and the economy? Like in the sense that, and I know we're not Google, they can do analytics by the microsecond, but are we, we're heading into what would appear to be a significant recession. You're talking. I'm just curious, and then, or at the front end of the pandemic, and not to sound too cute about it, but making bread was all the rage. So are people, is there a correlation between what's happening broadly speaking, or are people taking out books on Ukraine and Russia? And I know it's impossible to prove, perhaps, but I'm just wondering, broadly speaking, are there correlations between what people are taking out and the current affairs that we see?
I mean, I think I can speak to that anecdotally, but we haven't necessarily run the statistics against the catalog to see what the key trends are in terms of subject heading. I mean, we can do that. We don't tend to. We tend to do it end of the year to kind of look at the year as a whole. I do know you brought up the example of bread making. That I can 100% say that yes, our bread cookbooks did very, very well.
Sure they did.
During that time. A lot of crafting books also did really, really well for that. I would suspect that a lot of political books around the situation in Europe, definitely. And we were promoting them as well, right? As those situations come up, we put up book lists and we can kind of track the hits to the book lists. HIP is another good example. We do sometimes check HIP, and Marcus is very good at saying we're seeing these trends, food insecurity.
Of course,
We are hearing, I think I heard a statistic that, by the end of the year, 1 in 5 Canadians will use a food bank. Because we are using that, okay, how do we use that information? How do we kind of build that support and shore up what we're doing? So Marcus does provide information on what they're seeing through the community services database. So we do use that as well, but it's not something we deliberately do on a regular basis, no.
Yeah, no, and I understand that, and there's an anecdote which is useful, but also, as you say, it can inform if there's a macro trend that's measurable and notable.
Yeah.
Does that inform, a speaker series, like having economists come in to talk about it, or whatever? So no, I hear what you're saying, so thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Anything further? I guess I just have a basic question. Is there anything that staff are looking at and thinking is an alarming trend? Do you see anything in these numbers?
I think it's still so much in flux. I think as we get into Q2 and Q3, we'll be able to highlight, okay, these are areas that are concerning, that we're not seeing them return. a little bit. There's a couple things we're keeping, footfall, I was hoping in Q1 we'd see a little bit more. But I am hearing anecdotally when I go to the branches from the managers that they are seeing people start to come back in. There's a lot more students. Like I said, I worked at a Glen Abbey last week, and I think I got the last table. That was there. But I think if we're not seeing it start to trend up in some areas through Q2 and into Q3, then we'll have to look at what we can do to kind of identify what the hesitancies are for those areas.
Anything further? Can I get a motion to receive the report, please? Savannah, thank you very much. Seconded by? Thank you, Susan. Any further comments or questions? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. CEO update, the best part of every meeting.
Oh, yes. I've got a fun one today, too.
Oh, good.
So just starting with North Park, detailed design continues, although it is just final tweaking to that. North Park report went to council on Monday. I did pass that out to the board. Apologies, I meant to get it out a little bit earlier, but it was in flux until the very last minute before it went to council. It did highlight the overarching visions, I think, for the park space and the recreation space and the library space. There was significant number of questions from council on that. There was not a question related to the library. I like to think that's because we presented it so well, it just makes sense. But more importantly...
Councillor Knoll.
Yes.
Tara, I can't hear you.
Oh.
Okay.
Who is it? Can you hear me, Pankage?
Yeah.
But you couldn't hear Tara.
Can you hear me now, Pankish?
Great. I got a thumbs up.
Okay. So yeah, the council, I know, the report went to council on Monday, provided an overview of the current project, but more importantly, as I've indicated at the past few board meetings, we are seeing some cost increases related to that build. Supply chain, overall construction, it is not unique to this project, as anybody who's tried to do anything over the past 6 months has encountered. So the report was basically to request an additional $30-ish million from council. 99%, I think, or 95% was coming from development charges. So council did approve that, so we are set to move forward. We're just finishing detailed design. The next step is, of course, identifying a contractor to come on board and start that build. There is a groundbreaking ceremony on Monday at 9 a.m. up at the 16 Mile Sports Complex. So we're excited to get that. You'll see that no doubt come out through social media, both ours and through the town. That really marks the start of the next phase of the park, which starts this summer. We expect ground to actually break for the facility hopefully in fall, but it really does depend on getting the contractor on board, and I'm not going to lie, that's been a struggle in other areas, but we are hoping to do that, and of course I will provide the board updates as we go forward with that. No, this button, this button, this button. There we go. So the 16-mile relocation, so this is in progress. I have dismantling is tentatively scheduled to start June 27th, and then we found out that the groundbreaking is June 27th, right in front of our facility. FCM was talking with the contractor about whether or not they could start at noon on Monday or potentially Tuesday. But it is looking like it should start next week. We are still waiting on a couple permits, but they were hoping that they'd come in tomorrow. But again, I will keep the board posted. But those permits are pending, so it will start as soon as we get them. And to date, we are still on schedule for an early September reopening. We checked in, Simona attended the meeting this week with the contractor, and they expect right now to hand it over in late August, which would then give us a week or two in order to get it reset up. So we'll keep you posted as that develops. The GA Patio is now open. It opened on Tuesday, so we are very excited to have that available. If you are up in that area, please stop by and take a look at it. So that is now complete. We did have everything come in. We were waiting on a transformer and the tables. We still have a couple things outstanding, small things. But overall, it is in place. We do have the official opening on Tuesday, July 12th, which the board has been invited to. Hope you can attend. We have reached out to politicians and dignitaries throughout the community. We've received a very good response, so we're hoping for a very, not large, but a well-received grand opening of that. It is, as I said, July 12th. Roughly 10:30, and then refreshments to follow. So we're very excited to have that space opened because it bridged a couple of years. You all remember we started it in the fall of last year. So, and it's perfect weather to be out there right now, actually. It is this time of year again, the 2023 budget process. Oh, that is not. Oh, you know what? There's a slide missing. I'm going to speak to it. Just ignore what's there. We can look at Faye and Fluffy. That's my bad. Sorry. So we are starting the 2023 budget process. Just to remind the board, the process for this is we had the kickoff last week. And then we work with the town over the next couple months to kind of build the budget. July, I will bring a budget drivers report highlighting for the board the things that are really driving our 2023 budget for feedback and discussion about what the board's appetite is. What are the key drivers other than inflation? And then we bring an initial 2023 budget to the board for review in September, and then for approval in October. Simultaneous to when it comes to the board, we're also meeting with the town executive team to again see how the library fits in with the broader town budget. Because we are a lower tier municipality, we do have to balance to what the town portion is in terms of also the region and the school board. So how we as the library fit into the town, but also has the town fits into the region. And then because it is an election year, the budget will not actually be approved. I guess they're tentatively targeting February. So just an awareness that because it is an election year, normally it gets approved in December, but because it needs to be approved by the new council, it will be in February. So in July, we will bring the budget drivers report, and then we'll go from there.
Any questions on that? I do. I have one quick question. So that the schedule, the timing schedule for the board, doesn't. Oh, sorry. Thank you. With respect to the budget schedule, other than, the adoption, obviously, when the new council's sworn in, but are we still maintaining the same schedule that we traditionally have then, notwithstanding that?
Yeah, so the budget drivers in July, the first look in September, and then approval in October is what we've done the past number of years for both the operating and capital.
Right, and so that remains the same schedule even in an election year?
The town has requested that we keep the same schedule.
Thank you.
Yep. So June's been a fun month. It's been a busy month for us. So just some photos. We did have our drag queen story time at QEP. That was very well attended. I did attend, and there was some beautiful moments between Flay and Fuffy and some preteens in the audience as well as the children. This is a picture of Faye and Fluffy along with our summer reading coordinators. So if you ever get a chance to go to a drag queen story time, I do recommend. OPL was also invited to the flag raising at two different events. In the top corner, it was the pride flag being raised at Town Hall. And in the bottom corner, we were invited also to the pride flag raising at the Halton Regional Police Service. So we were very proud to be invited to both of those. And as Jeff indicated, we were also invited to attend the unveiling of the orange sidewalk on Tuesday morning at on Church Street.
Church and Thomas.
Church and Thomas. It was a lovely event. and very, I think, much needed to bring attention to what's continuing to be unveiled and discovered at residential schools. More beyond the sidewalk is also the Moccasin Project, which is something that we're looking to get a bit more involved in, and how that is spreading and how we're bringing awareness to the Moccasin Trail as well as the Moccasin Project. So there are signs there. There'll be permanent plaques to honor it. So, and there will be, the town is also in conjunction with the Oakville Museum is doing a heritage walk of the Moccasin Trail this weekend. So you can look that up on the town website. So our Friends of the Library book sale has returned after a very, very long hiatus, which was good because the books were slowly pushing us out of Central Branch. Everybody has definitely been doing some spring cleaning, I think. And people read a lot during the pandemic, I promise you. So it started today. It was pretty packed. I was talking with some staff who actually had to move offices because of the number of people that were coming through. It was quite loud. So we'll bring the results of that, but it continues through Sunday. So if you were looking for some new reads, please stop by. So just a show. We're also running a new kind of option. Previously, we'd always gone by weight. And so we do not go by weight anymore, but there is an option to buy an OPL bag for $15, and as much as you can put in it, you can walk away with. So we're looking to see how that is responded to. So again, more information will come in July about how this all turns out. And then I think for the past couple more meetings, we've been talking about the book bike. The book bike has landed. So Joe and Marcus biked it from Central down to Bronte Park earlier in the week. And it has been extremely well received. So it is in partnership with the Bronte BIA, and it is featuring books for the customers that are basically coming from our donations. So they're not checking them out. They can borrow them, read them there, and return them. They could grab one and just take it home with them. It's very similar to how we operate our Friendly Find shelves throughout, because we wanted it to be really simple, not to take up a lot of staff time. So it is in a fantastic location. We've already gone through 4+ boxes, and it got there on Tuesday, yeah? So there was an email from the Bronte BIA. It was like, we need more boxes, which is fantastic. So it'll be out. So it sits with them. Bronte BIA has volunteers who pedal it out every morning and kind of oversee it. There's seating there. And then there is, the Bronte BIA posted this video, which we'll play in a second, but these were the responses that they got on the Instagram post to date. So we're really excited to see where this goes. And Marcus's cardio is pretty impressive. If you want to just play it. Yeah, we actually got an email late this afternoon from Councillor Robinson with a picture of her sitting next. Robertson, sorry, my apologies, sitting there reading a book next to it. So we're definitely excited to see how well it's been received by the community. So
that's the best comment ever. It's better than popsicles.
And that's all. I'm happy to take questions or comments about that.
Is there any possibility of expanding that book bike program to other parks or other places in town?
You know, we definitely had that conversation. This was kind of a pilot for us. The BIA purchased the bike for us. However, after this summer, it is ours. So we are looking at next year maybe doing more of an active book bike. So actually having a staff member pedal it around. We might get them an electric bike. This isn't an electric bike. But have it travel around to different parks and set up. Definitely a number of libraries have that program in place. So we'll test it out here, and then we'll kind of explore that, I think, for next summer, because I think it would be well received.
Yeah, that's sort of why I was thinking in particular, like, I know that there's lots of awesome parks in town, but every day I drive by Memorial Park, which is the one up in Ward 5.
Right.
And it is just like teeming with people. And I think it'd be like an absolutely awesome opportunity to connect with some of those folks in an area that's not particularly well served by libraries.
Yeah.
And that's very cool.
Yeah, no,
Any comments or questions on the report? See any? Here you go. Oh, Colleen. Hey, Colleen.
Hi, I apologize, Counselor. I'm having trouble hearing you on your mic.
Oh, I wasn't talking about you, honestly.
It's coming across as distorted or something.
Okay. I was asking about whether or not this is something we could consider in other parts of town. Can you hear me? No? So? How is that? Oh, so Colleen, I was just asking whether or not this is something we can consider in other parts of town. It was confirmed that it's something we can look at later once the bike becomes our property or potentially expanding it. And I was specifically citing the example of one park in my ward in particular that's very busy, and it would be an awesome opportunity to provide services in a community that's not really fantastically served by libraries at this point. So that's all I had to say. And then I think I was looking for motion to receive the report. Stephen, thank you very much, and thank you, Bill. Further comments or questions? All in favor of receipt? That's received. Thank you very much for the report. We do not have any confidential discussion items. Does anybody have new business to bring before the board? I don't see any. I have a couple quick announcements. I may as well use the opportunity to mention. RibFest starts tomorrow in town, run by the Oakville Trafalgar Rotary Club. It's a bit of a conflict of interest because I'm a member, but notwithstanding that, it's a great event. It's a drive-through this year. All the money that they raise goes to local and international Rotarian causes. So if you're hankering for some ribs or chicken or other sorts of treats and snacks, head on over to Sheridan College starting tomorrow at 4 p.m. They're operating Saturday and Sunday, and hopefully they'll be back live with a full-blown event next year. The Oakville Film Festival starts tonight, actually right now. They're unspooling a film at the Oakville Performing Arts Center for their gala premiere, and that festival runs through to Sunday. It's their first year back after 2 years of hiatus and being virtual, so if you have the interest in film, there's lots of tickets available. Visit offa.ca for more information. And if you want more information on the RibFest, it's oakvillefamilyribfest.com, not a short URL, but easy to remember. So those are some events in town this weekend. I know there are lots more, so I hope that my colleagues here on the board will consider checking some of these events out, and anybody that might be watching today, hope to see you out there because it's going to be a fun and warm weekend. So, with that, our time and date of next meeting, when is that? I'm always confused in the summertime.
It's July.
It is July.
My mic. Oh, July 28th.
So are we not having a meeting in August this year?
Correct.
Is that correct? Okay, I just want to make sure. So we'll see you on July 28th. And
We technically have a meeting tentatively scheduled, and then just,
yes,
if there's no material, then we
yeah.
can.
Because I know that that meeting usually coincides with AMO and a bunch of other
Yes.
things toward the end of the month as well. Yeah. Okay, members of the board, one more time for new business, I guess. Seeing none, before I adjourn, I just want to thank anybody that took the opportunity to tune in to our first board meeting, televised board meeting in our community rooms. We're so happy that this is one of the few good parts of the pandemic was some of the transparency things that we've been able to incorporate into public governance, and these televised meetings I think are a great way to shed light on the management of your library system. So thank you for tuning in. Hopefully we'll see you in July, and as always, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to reach out to myself or to the CEO. We're certainly happy to have your feedback on the operation of your library system. Members of the board, I'll look for motion to adjourn, please. Bill and Savannah, how about you? Terrific, thank you very much. And once again, welcome to Savannah, and we look forward to a long and happy board term with you. Not that it's going to be that long, but perhaps you'll come back next year as well. All in favor of adjournment? And this meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Stay safe.